Here, this Rick Dahl is the new county commissioner, and he'll be the representative of the Board of County Commission on the board. So welcome, Rick. And we'll go ahead and get started. We have an agenda that was published. You have a chance for you to any changes. Please speak now, otherwise we can entertain a motion to approve as written. Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Kurt Saha. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm sorry, who was for Rachel's benefit? Who's my?
Sorry.
Okay. Next up, we have the minutes from last month. The minutes were sent out and published. Is there any discussion on those?
I move approval. Now.
Second, Hamilton.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Next, we are at the public comment period. We're not seeing no members of the general public here. Rachel, do you have anybody logged in?
There's no one online.
Okay, we will have no public comment then. Next up is payables. And following that, the financial report. So Rachel, do you want to go ahead and address those?
Sure. I don't really have much to say about payables unless you guys have questions. But I do have a new formatted financial report. And you guys can kind of give me your feedback on it. It's a little easier to look at, I think, than what was presented before. At the very top, you can see what we budgeted for our beginning fund balances and then what our actual beginning fund balances were to start out the year. And then in revenues, you'll see that I only put our new revenues. So things that are coming in during the year, not including internal transfers. And then below that, you'll see the budgeted ending fund balance. That number actually should be 6.1. I excluded equipment reserve on accident. So that will show up in next month's report. And then the expenses are actual expenses that we plan on having, not including transfer outs. And the section at the very bottom just shows you our internal transfers and how the money is moving. In the operations revenue portion, that 3.3 is a total of our excise tax, user fees, and other revenues. And then it does the same breakdown in the expenditure line. So the 5 million is the total for operations, but it's broken out amongst those different categories. And I tried to make them broad, but also point out larger categories so you guys can kind of see where bulk of the money is going or coming from. Do you guys have any questions on this report and what it looks like? Do you have any issues?
No, I thought it looked good. Yeah, it looks nice.
Yep. Any other question on the payables? Had the payment to Clark County for a lease? Is that for like a radio tower or something?
It is, yes.
Is that a monthly or an annual fee?
I believe both of those were annual fees.
Annual fees, okay. Well, sounds good. All right. Any questions concerning the financial report or accounts payable? All right. Guess we would need a motion to approve the accounts payable as presented.
I'd make a motion to approve payables as presented.
I'll second that. Al.
Okay. Motion by Kurt Saha and a second by Alan Headley. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and I'll also vote aye. That motion carries. And the financial report, we do not need to take any action on that. Next up, we have a social media policy. John?
Yes, so we have been discussing it for a bit and seeing the value of having a social media policy so that we can become active on social media. Primarily in the beginning, it'll be Facebook. We may add others down the road. Bree will be our administrator of our Facebook account when we create it. It gives us an opportunity to share public safety information with the public. Most of that will be reposting what the agencies and DEM post currently. Or we get notifications from time to time that, for example, a cell provider like T-Mobile may say 911 may be affected in your area. We can push that information out with alternate means of communication to the 911 center, things like that. As well as we want to take it as an opportunity to celebrate the work that our staff does on a day-to-day basis and get a little recognition for the good work that they do. I know most of them won't want their name and their picture out there, and that's fine. We'll respect that. But we do want to use that venue to celebrate the work that gets done on behalf of our agencies that we serve. So we're asking for approval of a social media policy, and this social media policy that we have drafted is kind of a conglomeration of social media policies from other 911 centers around the state that we've been stolen. We didn't reinvent the wheel on this. So we're asking for approval for that.
Yeah, just one question under 5.7. It's just a minor thing, but it's under when Cal 7 employees engaged in 911 social media accounts or their personal media accounts, so they should adhere to confidentiality policies and procedures. Should be a shall. Does that need more teeth as if somebody were, I wouldn't expect anybody would blatantly disrespect that confidentiality thing. But
Yeah. In fact, we would encourage staff to not engage in with their personal accounts, but the world being what it is and them doing what they can. I'm not opposed to making that a shall at all. What's the
it's under 5.7.
Cal employees engage with Cal social media accounts through their personal social media accounts. They should adhere to confidentiality. I'll change that to shall.
Yes.
I agree.
I do too.
I have
Certainly.
a question. I just up at the beginning, you included TikTok as one of the social media tools, and I questioned if you'd ever really use TikTok. I know a lot of public entities have there's been a lot of stuff in the news about the privacy things with TikTok, and a lot of places are not letting people use that on government sponsored, issued devices. I have a daughter who's a software engineer, and she is very concerned about TikTok and the security of data with TikTok.
No, you do make a good point. I'm aware of some of those concerns as well. And again, this is a document that we put together from others that have such policies. But I'm not opposed to taking one off. I also, and quite frankly, question Snapchat a little bit because of
Yeah.
retention and being able to hold that stuff in discovery if necessary. So no, I welcome.
Yeah, I think
any input on taking those
those
off.
two should come out.
Bree, do you have any input or problem with that? Taking those two off?
What about
So-
Instagram? Is that?
Instagram is basically same as Facebook.
Yeah.
In some, it reaches a different audience. There's people.
I know some of the kids use those. but-
My kids don't do Facebook anymore, but they still do Instagram. So I see their stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram. So I think it reaches a different group, but
I have learned from my daughter that old people like me are now allowed to be on Instagram and do their stuff on it. Before it was just
for
Facebook
kids.
and the kids did Instagram, but now we're allowed on Instagram because the kids are doing TikTok and other things. There may come a day when we're allowed on the other things. But so what we'll amend this and strike TikTok and Snapchat, and we will add the language for shall in 5.7. Any other questions or concerns?
This I think is a good idea, particularly if there's outages to 911 to post something and get an alternative ways for
Absolutely.
contact. So that happens when
yeah,
rare occasions. Other concern I'd have is just whether you're going to allow comments or not, because when that happens occasionally with certain detractors who post things, it's something we would have to question whether we allow comments, and if so, monitor that. And
Yeah, we'll
remove those.
Yeah, we will monitor that, of course, and if it's something that becomes either inappropriate or, just an outright abuse of the system, then we can certainly close down comments on that particular post.
One, you'll want to do some research on that. My understanding of it is that once you have comments turned on, there may be legal peril in turning them off. That you now taken a public forum and closed it off for discussion. So I'd research it before you fire it up. And then if you don't want people posting nasty comments, which people seem to, that's where you go to get your negativity out, is social media. If you're considering that, I would start that way. Keep it that way. You're gonna have
So if we start out with it off, we can always turn it on if we choose later, but
But once you do, like
it
buying a
opens up a
timeshare.
can of worms. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think the other item along those lines is, while we may have a central information officer assigned to this, will they be, I guess, up and paying attention 24/7 because, comments don't always come in between 8 and 5 on Monday through Friday. And I know you guys are 24/7 operation, but if you were to allow it and then receive it on say a Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon, and it was really derogatory and you wanted to respond, I mean, immediate response is really, I think, important in those instances. And, if you don't respond until, after the weekend's over, coming Monday, the damage sometimes is done.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
a good point.
that's another issue to at least be aware of, if you're accepting, those types of comments.
I
from the public.
don't believe, Bree, do you recall, did we mention in here specifically allowing comments or not allowing comments if we use Facebook or Instagram, et cetera?
So something that, so that they
Monitoring
would be
content.
monitored,
Yeah.
comments would be monitored or something like that.
I'd be leery. I'd be real leery of the comments myself. I mean, I think the social media is good to get the information out, but once you open up the comments, then you kind of lose control.
Kind of a one way.
Yeah.
Comments and they post videos and other secondary sites.
Yeah,
Could be disinformation.
yeah, disinformation. We gotta
So
be
it-
careful, not to do.
Yeah.
Promote disinformation.
In section 8.2, it does say that Cal County social media sites shall include notification to site users, visitors that the following content will not be allowed on the site. And 8.2.a is comments not typically related to a particular social media thread. So we can certainly, I agree. This is very, very good feedback. We can not allow comments. And then in the future, if we do decide to allow it, the main reason that I would see for allowing comments is when we're taking that opportunity to celebrate our staff. Then we could get, some response and accolades for that. But in the, looking at the greater good of the purpose of it as a public safety informational way of communicating with 911, should there be issues or us getting information out, perhaps that's not as relevant. So, Bree, do you have any heartache with not allowing comments?
I don't know what I say, but, oh, go ahead.
I know other agencies allow comments, so I don't know if that will come back and be like, they're questioning us for not having it because all other agencies that have social media have comments.
Yeah, the fire districts, the
All the police
city, the county,
It is.
they currently allow comments.
There's. People will complain about the most benign things.
Yeah.
They will spread misinformation. You'll also get the scammers posting links to like, oh, here's the news story about it, and it's actually a scam link. I just.
So do you guys
personally, I
remove
wish we didn't
those,
have
Troy, or
comments.
how do you deal with those?
We can delete ones that are either, outright harassment or fraud. But if somebody wants to, argue with everything you post and just be a pain, you can't do anything about it. So,
And actually, what we see with ours, we post it in the Cowlitz County News and Cowlitz County Public Safety feed, they'll copy those and then they allow comments. So there is a place for people to comment on that.
That's true,
It's not
yeah.
under controls.
It's not direct from us. If one of those, other private groups reposts our stuff, then we have no control of the comments on that
For responsibility.
or responsibility. Yeah. All right. Well, I would suggest then that section 8.2a. that we just say comments will not be allowed on any threads. Does that sound good? Okay, so we'll amend this policy to that. We'll just say comments not allowed, period. We'll leave it at that.
I had another question on section 4. The second paragraph, you talk about only the designate, the authorized designee, only using, specific equipment, or I guess it's the first thing. And but then down below, it says on the about fifth paragraph down, discouraged from all 911 employees are discouraged from using personal equipment and personal accounts to post to your fish. I mean, it's just isn't that in conflict with the first one?
Well, the intent there is that, and to Mr. Saha's point about, things won't happen just 8 to 5.
Okay,
So we would have a few personnel designated for that. Right now, it would be myself, Bree, our supervisor, Jerry Jensen,
mhm,
and then one, perhaps two dispatchers
okay,
that we vet, do some training,
okay,
and set that up with.
okay, I understand.
But the intent
Yeah.
there is to,
For the,
any other employees,
if it's during an odd time,
right?
okay. Got it. So the norm would be the one official designee, and this would be the exception.
Correct.
I understand.
So as it stands on, in section 1, we will strike TikTok and Snapchat. And then in section 5.8, or I'm sorry, 5.7, shall adhere to versus should. And in 8.2.a, we will strike that sentence and make it comments not allowed. Any other questions or concerns? And I believe, Sheriff, if you will, we could go ahead and approve this as amended, and we'll get those amendments into the policy.
Is there any further discussion on that? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Hamilton second. Motion by Alan Headley, a second by Andy Hamilton. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor as approving the social media policy as amended, say aye.
I
Also vote aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion does carry.
All right, thank you very much.
And okay, next up we have the law tack and fire tack. So see laws first on the list. So Troy.
Not much to report. John and I did get some answers from the CompStat folks, and I'll be pushing some info out. I think Longview might be interested in joining that. I'm not sure about Kelso and the others. It is about 5,500 per agency buy-in. So we're gonna be looking at doing that. And then we'll have our next meeting probably early March.
Okay. Any questions for Troy? Okay. Next up, we have a fire tack and Bill. Tag your out.
They were supposed to meet on Monday, but there was conflicts, so they did not meet, and now they're working on a better meeting date, so there is no report.
You stand by.
Yep.
Next month. So already. And also the next up, we have the user fee committee formation. Rachel sent out a list of some folks who volunteered. And I know I talked to Rick Dahl. I think he's willing to serve, so if we could add him to the list, but we'll have a meeting next Thursday, the 23rd, 10 a.m. in this room to talk about the user fee formula. And Rachel, do you have anything to add on that?
I don't. I believe Bill Lamont was the only one who responded that he was unable to make that date happen.
Could you list the names of those on the committee again, please?
Okay, I printed that out, forgot to grab it. Rachel, do you have that list of people who volunteered? Or were
One
volunteered?
second. Let me see if I can find it really fast.
Yeah, Chris.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I heard. Did the same thing that she's going to do.
I have Andy Hamilton, Chris Swanson, Katrina Harris, Brad Thurman, Bill Lamons, Rachel Young, John Diamond, and then we're adding Rick Dahl.
That's who's listed, and everybody whose name was read is agreeing to do so, I hope so. Speak now or. hold your peace.
For information on that, we are building models right now of, we have 3 or 4 different models, Rachel.
I believe 3.
Yeah, 3 different models of formulas, and we are populating them the best we can with historic figures, so that group will have a sense of how each of those different models would impact our user agencies. So we're putting all that together in advance, so hopefully that will be good information for us to digest during that meeting.
This will feed into budget discussions.
It will.
Moving forward.
Yes,
And that meeting's here.
it is here, yes.
Next Thursday, the 23rd. So, okay. Any questions about the user fee committee? All righty, moving right along, director's report. John, you were out.
Thank you. So for staffing, we currently have 16 dispatchers working the schedule. Correction, 17. We had 1 on leave, but they're back. So we now have 17 dispatchers working the schedule. We have 4 in training. One of those is currently on leave. We anticipate that the ones on leave will come back at the end of this month and hopefully sign off of training within a month of being back. She's about ready to be out on her own. And then we have the other 3 in training that are progressing well. We have 1 supervisor and then 6 other non-represented staff. As to climate and culture, the dispatchers, quite frankly, are a little unsettled with the new schedule. There's still some adjustment and getting used to it. But they are they're working through it. We've had a lot of leave, not only vacation things, we've had 2 incidents of COVID recently, where we've had people off for more than just a day or 2 at a time. So there's still some overtime. Quite honestly, we're struggling with our staff showing up for even mandated overtime. So we've been meeting with the guild regularly to address that. We've made some adjustments to processes to hopefully encourage dispatchers to step up when overtime is available and when we're staffed as such that we need more people on the floor. So we're working through that. And Bree has started up our monthly internal newsletter, if you will. It's going out to all staff and done a really good job with it. And we're making every effort to share more information, get more input, and to work with staff the best we can there. The facility update, the current completion from the contractor is set for the end of March. We believe that's reasonable. Alan's smiling at me like he's heard me say we believe that's reasonable for several months now. But
and
we actually do.
and we will have executive session today.
We will, yes.
We'll go into details then.
Okay.
We'll have details in our executive session later. But as I told staff this week, we now believe that the light at the end of the tunnel is not a train. So we're getting there. I'm currently reviewing the Motorola contract, annual maintenance contract, as well as our new purchase of the CAD system and what the maintenance will look like on that. We're finding some perhaps discrepancies in what they're currently billing for maintenance at the county and the group versus what their intent is to bill us. So we're working through that with Motorola. Let me see. What else do I have for you? Oh, I apologize. Going back to the building. With an end of March completion, in an effort to avoid any upheaval on the week of July 4th, and depending on what the CRP team can get done and how quickly, as far as getting all of our technology in place and ready to go, I believe it's probably going to be prudent to wait till after the 4th of July week to go live. So we're looking at perhaps July 24th to actually be live in the new center, where we'll all drive there to go to work. But it's a moving target, as we all know. A couple of miscellaneous things. It had been brought to the board from the EMS council and the fire departments about Holtz Point. And last month, you asked that we find out from Cressa if they pay the maintenance or if the fire or EMS departments do. And I spoke with Cressa, they do indeed handle the maintenance for Pulse Point, as well as a couple of other minor things, but Pulse Point being the higher value. And that, again, the EMS council has agreed to pay for the initial setup and installation, which is $10,000. And then they are asking 911 to pay for the ongoing maintenance, which is $10,000 as well. And that's what Cress is paying as well. So just wanted to report back that information. We talked about the user fee committee. The next item up is last month or the month before, the board approved an RFP for managed IT services. We issued that RFP. We had responses to it. We reviewed them. We've interviewed, and it is our recommendation to the board that we move forward with More Power Technology Group as for that contract. And if the board is good with that, then we will bring to you next week, or I'm sorry, next month, a contract for those services. They did come in, their quote is under the budgeted amount that we planned for. So we're pleased with that. So if there's any questions about that, it will be our recommendation, and we will begin under that RFP process, negotiating a contract with More Power Technology Group. Okay. And radio updates and battery updates and things. Deanna.
As you know, last week, we had some issues system-wide with the clicking, and like a voter was locking up and it interrupted the audio pretty much on almost all the frequencies at some time or another. We had 2 instances of that. They shut down the connection between Rainier and Steely Eye to eliminate that from continuing. There's an issue with the relay switch between the microwaves, and Day Wireless is investigating and working on that. So I don't have a solution yet, but there'll be some diminished coverage in like the Cougar area with that. Today we're having 2 HVAC systems replaced at the Steely Eye site that were end of life. One had failed and the other was on its last leg. Capital Heating and Cooling is doing that. Brandon's on site with them at this time. We continue to work with Tracy Coleman and Woodland on narrowing down a location for that site. We went out for bid twice on the battery replacements. We exceeded our Small Works roster pricing, but Dawn discovered that they're actually on a NASPO contract. So we're gonna go through the NASPO contract, and I'm just waiting for that quote back from the only vendor who responded to the 2 Small Works requests. Department of Justice. I've sent back the notification acknowledging that we received their notification of the award for the, I think it's almost 2.2 million. And I'm just waiting to hear from DOJ. We have to do a budget and an application process, and so there's some other steps that will take place, but I'm just waiting to hear back from them. That's it.
Okay. Do you want to mention Motorola's visit last week?
Oh, yes, thank you. I appreciate that. As you know, we've been struggling a little bit with our Spillman CAD not performing the way that we expected it to. We have been working with Motorola, attempting to get a little more well, brain power and higher ups involved in that conversation and that work. And last week ago, they did bring a team on site. We had two developers, one of them being the developer as well as the quote unquote product owner for Motorola for the CAD and mobile products. And they actually made some good headway. They actually adjusted some code while they were here. And they have written some code into a hot fix patch that we will be applying Thursday morning, tomorrow morning. So good progress there. And they were here for one day with one full day with one set of dispatchers. And they are coming back on the 22nd for another day with a different set of dispatchers to learn, to make sure we're getting the big picture, understanding the impact from as many of our staff as possible. So we're encouraged by that. We're happy that they've stepped up and responded in that way. And we are seeing improvement. So we have offered ourselves up to be good partners to them and to do what we can on our side to improve the system. We've offered up that we would stand up a new server, let them do a fresh install. We would replace a couple of machines to ensure it's not our machines that are causing any problem. When they're here, if they're seeing things that we are doing procedurally that might be impacting our efficiency, then we'll bring Motorola trainers back and do more training of our staff. So we're working hard to be a good partner because they have stepped up to, or not because, and they have stepped up to be a really good partner for us. So, and in fact, next month in our board meeting, March 15th, we will have Karen Weir, she's Director of Customer Success for Motorola, at the third level up from where we've been. She'll be joining the meeting to address any questions or to add comments and share their commitment to see us through the issues we've been having to improve our system. So we're encouraged by that. Thank you, Sheriff, for reminding me. Appreciate that.
Any questions on any of the director's report or radio report?
Yes, sir.
So what is your fully budgeted or fully staffed amount? What is that number?
We are budgeted for 23 dispatchers.
I'm not sure about the other board members, but it might be something to ship the little internal flyer that you're sending to staff, updates to us.
Certainly happy to do that.
And I'm no tech guy or anything like this, but instead of all these towers, yeah, could we like get some white balloons?
And
They might get shot down.
Yeah.
Anyway. Any more questions? Well, thank you, John. This is a final reminder. I don't know if Rachel wants to be the bad guy or I will, but the Open Public Meeting Act training, the link's been sent out a couple times. It takes about 45 minutes and you can actually probably do some other stuff while you're listening to that. Goodness, like how that I did, but please try to get that done. There is a list of honor there. Hutchison, Kelly, Kirk, Lamont,
Yeah,
Reeves,
I
Thurman.
need
and
to be
Morley.
taken off that.
You need to be taken
I
off.
need to
it.
be taken off that.
You
Yeah,
need not
I already did it.
No, that's the list of honor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, people that
Okay.
have.
I don't want to be on that.
I'm not.
That's why it's gonna have to keep you off here.
I think that would make. You're not gonna
Make
do
my
it.
day.
You
Make my
can't
day.
come back.
Did you guys get back to Rachel?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
please, those if you're not on the list of honor, if you've not done so, please do the Open Public Meeting Act and get that to Rachel. So other than that, old business, John mentioned Pulse Point. And I see nobody is here. I know Sammy Brown and Eric Perez, Therese had pushed that originally. I don't know if we're in a position to have enough information, but he has a strong desire to move forward on that or not.
They've presented on it a couple of times, a little bit, and got a little bit deeper on it. I believe it's a good product. It's very useful. Our neighboring agencies and counties are using it. Again, my own, my opinion on the dollars is, again, as I mentioned before, a slippery slope because it's not a 911 function, and to ask 911 to pay for the ongoing maintenance. I'm just being protective of our budget for our staff. However, having said that, The $10,000 annually is not a burden. It is a good public service. It's a good thing to do. And the product is good and there's value in having it. But I just again want my concern that should 911 be paying for that? I don't know. Right now, as I said, not a burden. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do.
And all the other centers are paying that.
I only checked with Kretza.
Oh, okay.
As far as if the 911 center there is paying for it. I haven't checked with others like Lewis or further west. I don't know that the ones further west are using it.
I think that could be something for your
Fire check.
User fee committee.
user fee committee. Kind of talk about that stuff, because there could be things in the future that some agencies need and others don't. And maybe to figure out if you determine a user fee and if there's any bolt-ons that follow. Yeah, that'd be a good topic for that committee.
It will absolutely be a topic for that committee and future budget discussions as well. I just don't want to set a precedent that anybody can have a cool idea and come to 911 and say, hey, pay for our cool idea. I don't want to set that precedent, but Pulse Point's a valuable thing and I think it's worth doing.
Is that an expandable app for more add-ons to identify AED locations and first responder locations? Those type of things, or I don't know much more about it other than what I showed Chrissy last time.
Yeah, it is. Once we have it, we have it. It's free for the end user to use. There's no cost associated with that. Anyone in the public can use the app. Public safety personnel have a different level of permission within the app, and that would become incumbent on us to manage that to a point. To verify and authorize that expanded use. For example, if you may recall, if we put into the CAD system that there's a heart attack at Walmart, it would notify anybody who has the Pulse Point app that there's a heart attack at Walmart. If you're a public safety person and you are an EMT or a paramedic or a police officer and whatever, and you have perhaps an advanced capability or whatever, you will get more information than what the public will get. For example, if it's just at a home and we put in that CAD call for the public, it would say, you know, if there's a cardiac event in this area, if you're public safety, you would get the specific address and more details. So, and yes, the AED locations could be populated and we would make every effort to keep those updated and to know where they're at. But some of that relies on the public in putting that information. If a business buys an AED and they have that on their property, it becomes their responsibility to add that information to their property record. So, but that does not increase the cost going forward. Other than typical maintenance costs that may go up with, you know, how maintenance costs do.
And the intent right now is emergency medical service only. Is that EPO's prior side? Is that essentially what you're going to start with? Medical response calls only.
And I will say that the Washington Fire Chiefs are in strong support of this program. The reason being is that we know when we look at the factors about survivability of cardiac arrest, early intervention by public CPR makes a tremendous amount of difference in outcomes, successful outcomes. And so the more you get this out, the more you push this, the more you encourage it. It might be $10,000 for our community, but you think about, you know, the value of even just one life and the heightened awareness. That's the reason Washington Fire Chiefs are absolutely behind us.
Just to clarify, the EMS Council has the money to buy it for the first year.
They do.
For
They
$10,000,
have the initial purchase.
and then a year from now would have to be the renewal.
Correct.
Was there any questions on this program or anybody make a motion at this point?
So we were coming, or the EMS Council came to the board for approval on this. If the board is okay with it, it's within the director's limits to go ahead and sign the contract and approve it and move forward with it. But again, my concern that I don't want every bright idea to come up and say, hey, now we want to pay for it. That's the reason we brought this to the board. I just wanted the board to be aware of how we're using our dollars. But again, I support this one. So if the board is okay with that, we will move forward.
Can you use this first year as a trial period? Is there any commitment beyond 1 year? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe there is. I don't know. I don't have that answer off the top of my head.
I'd make a motion to move forward with the approval with the purchase of this Pulse Point. I think it's our jobs to improve the quality of life and the safety of our citizens. And I think this sounds like a step in the right direction to do that.
I'll second. Everybody.
Sounds to me like it might be a good thing, one of the initial things for our social media.
Yep.
Page too.
Right.
Agreed.
It was just like when we started, not to belabor you, but just like when we started, we called 911. It's got to start somewhere, and then many more people will become educated and knowledgeable and get training, and will make a real difference.
Okay, and just for Rachel, Kurtzaha made a motion to approve, seconded by Ellen Headley.
Jim by.
Jim Campbell, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just made a comment.
One of those fire guys. I'm sorry.
They all look alike, right?
He's only slightly taller than me.
Was there any further discussion or questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor to have the EMS council move forward with this, and 911 will work with them on implementation, say aye.
Aye.
We also vote aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion approved.
Thank you all very much.
Next up, we have executive session. So how much time do you think we'll need?
20 minutes. We can start with 20.
20 minutes, so already.
Emphasis on start with.
And if I may, before we go into session, this is going to be a very sensitive discussion. Basically, this is significant progress still being made, and the plan is to finish. But again, we're talking about a $10 million contract, 13 months overdue. So we're going to be talking about some very sensitive information still in progress. So, and likewise, as no municipal officer may disclose confidential information gained by reason of the officer's position, and in addition to all other penalties, civil or criminal, the violation by any officer of the provisions of this chapter may be grounds for forfeiture of his or her office. So this is a sensitive issue. If someone wishes to excuse themselves, they may. If not, I'll push them on.
And do you want to state the reason?
Yes, the reason for it is RCW 42.30.110 parens 1 parens I potential litigation.
Okay, and Rachel, if you could shut down the live feed and
Send us to our room.
Yep.
There we go.
Live stream is active, back in the session.
You're good.
No decisions were made in the executive session. And we're down to, is there anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, we will stand in adjournment till 1 month from today.
Perfect. Thank you all very much.
One quick thing, sorry, a little slow. Want to thank Manager Saha for all of his participation. This should be his last meeting with the 911 board. And those of us who work for him really appreciate him. And I'm guessing that all of you who've got to work with him, I appreciate it. So thanks.
I don't work with him, but I second that.
Thanks for your time, It's a pleasure working with all of you.
What's your last day?
28.
We'll stand in adjournment.
Who's all good?
We're working on that. We're working on that. Yeah, man.
Say Norwegian, that's like buy one, get one free.
Who does? Oh, okay.
Norwegian.
Okay. all right.